The third element of design is texture. Texture is the way a surface feels when we touch it. It also refers to how something looks as if it might feel if we were to touch it. A soft velvet dress, a prickly cactus, a pointed rock, a smooth piece of silk. Texture can affect how we perceive color. Let's take the example of fur versus leather. Fur, being an uneven, rough, complex surface, absorbs more light. The more light an object absorbs, the more matte and dull its color will appear. Polished leather, on the other hand, having a smooth surface, reflects light. The more light an object reflects, the shinier and more intense its color will appear. So if we take two elements that are essentially the same color but have different textures, the rough object will appear darker than the other one. The patterned surfaces that often appear on upholstery, tablecloths, and clothing can make a perfectly flat or smooth surface appear to have texture. This adds interest to design. If we surround a pattern with solid colored objects of the same hues used in the pattern, the effect is a pleasing visual combination of both smoothness and texture. Here's another example. The blue and cream of Antonio's tie are echoed in his shirt and pants. It works well because the colors remain consistent despite the differences in apparent textures. To review, the third element of design, texture, refers to how the surface of an object feels to the touch. Is it rough, smooth, prickly, soft? Bumpy, lumpy, jagged, and other textured surfaces absorb more light, making them appear darker and duller than smooth surfaces of the same color, which isn't always a bad thing. Patterns can give smooth surfaces the appearance of having texture. They can be used to liven up the visual presentation of your design. The fourth and final element of design is color. Of all the elements, color has the most immediate and profound effect on our visual perceptions and emotions. But before we get to all that, we need to understand where color comes from. The color of an object is determined by what happens when the object is hit by light. Light is a wavelength. Wavelengths come in different sizes, which help determine the color of objects. Warm colors have longer wavelengths than cool colors. Now here's where it gets tricky. White light, such as the light that comes from the sun, is a random mixture of all wavelengths. In other words, all colors. When white light hits the surface of an object, the surface will absorb all the wavelengths of the light except for the wavelength of the color we see. Any kid will tell us that the color of this ball is
blue!
But what they're really telling us is the name of the color of the wavelength that is being reflected back by the ball to your eye, which is why it appears blue. We associate some colors, red, yellow, orange, with heat. These are called the warm colors. Blues, purples, and most green hues, on the other hand, are known as cool colors. The cool colors are also referred to as receding colors because they tend to make things appear more distant. What happens if the walls of a room are receding? The room will actually appear to be bigger. So a room painted blue will actually appear larger than one painted yellow. Likewise, in clothing design, the warm-toned garment appears to advance, which means the wearer will actually look a little bigger or wider. And because the clothing in cool tones appears to recede, the person wearing it might appear to be thinner or smaller. When working with color, designers must also think about heat. Lighter colors physically absorb less heat than darker colors. White objects may absorb as little as 10% of the light rays hitting their surface, but black objects may absorb over 95% of light rays. This is especially important for clothing designers. Remember, the darker, the hotter. Now here's the most powerful thing about color. It can affect how we feel. Many years ago, scientists at NASA did a study to try to figure out if room color might affect a person's mood. They found that people in warm-colored, brightly lit environments spent a lot of time engaging with each other. And then when they watched the same people surrounded by a lot of blue, purple, green, or other cool colors, they found that people tended to be much less outgoing and interactive. Naturally, when we're less distracted and busy chatting and playing, we can concentrate better, which is why many believe cool colors enhance our ability to pursue more complex intellectual tasks. Remember this next time you're studying for a final. And speaking of final, it's about time we wrap this video up. First, a quick recap of color. Each color has a specific wavelength of light. Objects absorb light. And the wavelength not absorbed or reflected back to us is what we see as the color of the object. These beautiful blueberries absorb every color but blue. Light colors absorb less light and heat and make things appear larger. Dark colors do the opposite. Oh, that's better. Finally, color affects mood. Find a cool-colored room to enhance relaxation and concentration, and seek warm colors if you're throwing a party. Line, shape, texture, pattern, and color. These are the elements of design, and the most powerful tools you will ever need as a designer.